let's talk to Rebecca Wilcox, daughter of Dame Esther Rantzen, because, of course, last week the assisted dying bill passed through the House of Commons with not much of a majority, about a 23 majority, I think it was. Rebecca, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Thank you for joining us. We spoke to Tom Hunt earlier today, who's a former Tory MP who's on the opposite side of the debate to you, and he seemed to think that the House of Lords would probably be quite a difficult place to get this through, and he seemed to think that it might get watered down somewhat if indeed it gets put through at all. What's your take on that?
Well, that is not what I have heard at all. I have heard from Charlie Faulkner, Lord Faulkner, who's of course going to take this on for us in the House of Lords, that it will be a process that will be very respectful of the democratic process that has already taken place in the House of Commons, where it has been voted through. It had a 23 majority, which, as you say, is less than it was in the first reading, but still a very good majority for what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
This is a really strong bill with safeguards at its core. It's incredibly robust legally. It has gone through scrutiny after scrutiny. The House of Lords has an opportunity to scrutinise it further. I don't believe that they will change it much. I mean, there's not much they can do. If you are pro-assisted dying in principle, but you don't like this bill, I would ask you what you would change about it, because at the moment, it is the most legally strict bill that there is out there. It is the narrowest criteria that any other country has. So what would you vote for?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know is the straight answer. I mean, I'm one of those people that's kind of stuck in the middle. I don't have a strong view that we need to have a new law. As far as I'm aware, I don't know that people get prosecuted. I know that it's uncomfortable for a lot of people who get questioned by the police if they do something like this. But I don't think people generally get prosecuted for doing it. So I'm sort of slightly neutral, which is unusual for me on this, because I don't really think it necessarily needs to happen.
Well, you would stand with Tom Tugendhat then, who said that we don't need assisted dying because we have suicide, which I have to say I hugely disagree with, because a lot of the people that are going through these processes are in agony and they're being tormented by the disease that they have. These are the last few days of their life and they have no options. There was a story read out by one of the MPs on Friday, which was quite extraordinary, and I would preface it with a warning that the wife of a man who was dying walked into his room and he had been screaming in agony for days, and she said she will never forget the sounds of his screams. And it went quiet and she walked into his room and he had shoved all his bed sheets into his mouth and suffocated himself. That is not an alternative. That is what the status quo actually enforces, because people who have no choice, no control at the end, are being made to do these awful, ridiculous things that shouldn't ever happen to any human. And nobody would walk into that room alongside that wife or listen to that story and think it was okay.
No, I get that as well. I'm not, like I say, I don't feel that strongly either way. That's why I'm kind of, strangely neutral about it.
Well, I like strangely neutral. I think that's the wall colour that I have at home. But what I would say is a lot of people were scaremongering about the bill and creating myths and exaggerations. I won't go so far as lies, but when they were saying things that weren't entirely true, I was really interested in the Labour MP, David Burton Sampson, who stood up and said, assisted dying is not for me, that he was religious, he's a Christian, and he doesn't believe in it for himself. But what he does believe in is choice. And I would say, why does somebody else's religious belief affect the choice at the end of life for somebody like that man I was talking about, like my mother, like anybody else that is facing a terminal diagnosis at the moment and has no comfort in the fact that at the end of it, when the opioids stop working, there will be another way. Switzerland is not an equalising option for people. It costs £15,000 and it does mean prosecution. I met with a criminal lawyer who said that because we have put our head above the parapet with this debate, we would very much get investigated.
Yes. Well, Wes Streeting, of course, has said at the weekend that we can't afford it as well, which is another aspect of it, isn't it?
I would disagree with those numbers, having spoken to that there was a brilliant open letter from 50 of the most senior palliative care consultants in the country who said absolutely we can afford it. It's just another tool within the med kit bag that they walk around with daily. And how does it equate numbers wise with keeping somebody alive for days and days and days who doesn't want to be alive and who can't survive this anyway? So actually the numbers are there. He has always been against this bill, and I would be very interested to see, as I said before, what bill he would be in favour of if he believes that people should have a right to choose at the end of their lives.
Well, if he ever comes on my show, I'll certainly ask him, but he doesn't seem to want to. There we are. Rebecca, thank you very much indeed. Rebecca Wilcox, author of Dame Esther Rantzen, saying why she believes that the bill will go through pretty much as it is now. You may have a view on that.